Hey everyone, Grant Cohn, Sybilla Bakzaza. She's back. It's been a minute. The Niners have been doing not that much, really. You haven't really missed much. I mean,
that's why I've been gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of drama, like, oh, something might happen with Debo, but then nothing happened with Debo.
Yeah, Twitter was more fun than watching 49ers news, to be honest with you. Just people's reactions to things has kept me going.
Yeah, the coverage of the coverage has been better than the actual coverage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Buster Posey references you keep dropping.
I went to one Giants game this year. It happened to be like Buster Posey Appreciation Day. It was like his day. I expected he was going to be up there like, today, I consider myself the luckiest. I was like, come on, man. He's alive. He's 6 months older than me. And he like had this like 30-minute speech. It was so boring. So he's just like, and then in the next game.
He's a great catcher, but I'm not saying he should run for mayor.
No. Anyway, enough of Buster Posey. We need to talk about the Niners. They have new – we always basically start our conversations talking about defensive backs. Sybilla is a DB enthusiast. So let's talk about the new ones the Niners got. Round 5, round 6, Sam Womack, Tariq Castro-Fields. How do you feel?
All right, so let's go in order. Let's go with Samuel Womack first. So he's pick number 172. He's out of Toledo. Whenever I analyze these defensive backs, I look at what colleges they were playing, and I think we should temper our expectations of them based on their competition. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to say it, but I don't want to say they were in D leagues or anything like that, but they weren't going up against some of the best wide receivers in the nation. And actually, I'm more excited about the next one, and we'll get to him. But Samuel Womack he kind of fits our historic physical parameters that the 49ers kind of headhunt. Rangy, he's not really overly tall. He's 5'10", he's 187, 190. It fluctuates in there. There's a big discrepancy on his 40 time. So his official is 4.52 on his 40, but I saw an unofficial where he ran a 4.39. But that's probably when he ran it at home, basically on his own turf.
Yeah, see, he wasn't invited to the combine, so they don't have an electronic time on him. But what I'm seeing on draftscout.com is 4.4 flat.
So basically right in between those 4.4 flats. Yeah, I had 4.39 and 4.52.
Okay.
Yeah. I see somewhere in there. So let's call him a 4.4 guy. Let's be fair. Yeah. He definitely has the body and the build for that. He's got pretty decent arms. As somebody who has 32-inch arms, I love seeing guys with long arms. He's got 31.5-inch arms, which at 5'10" is pretty good. And that's really where he has the physical body to play at this level. One of the things I like about him in watching his tape so far, again, I temper my expectations because of who he plays. But he gets really good reads. He anticipates. He's a headhunter. And by that, I mean he's an aggressive tackler. He can play both zone and man. And when he plays man coverage, this I like because I look at the kind of people that we are going up against. The DeAndre Hopkins, the Cooper Kupps, people like that. He's a physical press corner when he plays man. The issue that I feel he's going to have to wake up with, and this is all corners coming out of college, is with that press coverage, don't get burned. That's the issue. And we've seen a lot of that from our draft picks. Again, this is a 5th-round pick. I think it's decent value at the position we got him. And that's about where he should have gone. Personally, I like the next corner more. And my biggest knock on Samuel Womack is he's herky-jerky in his body mechanics. And to me, that's terrifying as a DB coach type. If you look at it from their perspective, his hips are not very fluid. And if you can't backpedal with the fluidity and you can't get your hips turned and throw your shoulders the correct direction, next thing you know, Cooper Kupp's putting a move on you and he's gone. And that's the issue is I don't think Jimmy Ward's going to like what he sees as a safety at this point. But that's why you draft them. That's why you develop them. This is the guy who needs some work. But I'm happy to say it's not in his head. It's in his hips. That's where he's going to need the work.
What stands out to me about these two picks is like it's a perfect illustration of their philosophy about drafting corners. They don't draft corners early. They do it late. And so they're always trying to sell us on this 5th-round pick, this 6th-round pick. Like it's like they're coming back from the flea market. They're like, look what I got for a nickel. It's like, yeah, okay, you was a nickel, but what are you really expecting? And I feel like what they say is, why get a corner in round 1 or round 2 when we can get an athlete with the same athletic specifications in round 5? Like if you look at Sam Womack, like just his pro day numbers, he killed it. Like he compared favorably to Jason Verrett athletically. And so the Niners are like, we could get a similar athlete in round 5. And you look at Tariq Castro-Fields, he ran a 4.38. He's 6'1". I mean, athletically, agility, explosion, he's got it all. And the Niners are like, let's just get an athlete and coach him up, as opposed to, someone who had a lot of success in college.
Exactly. These are athletes, not cornerbacks.
And they have the length. They have everything you want, specific, like from an athletic specification, the length, the movement skills, but they probably didn't have a ton of success in college. They probably didn't intercept many passes. And I think the Niners
got 5 interceptions in his career. That's not too bad, all things considered. It doesn't flash out at you as all time or anything, but it's okay. But like you said, to your points,
right? There's a reason these guys are dropping.
And his hips. That's like if you're a fan of the 49ers and someone comes to you and says, "Hey, we just drafted a cornerback, but his hips don't move that well," you're terrified because you realize, oh, okay, Cooper Kupp's gonna love that. And that's the point, is this is what you get at this level. It's not to say you can't get these gems. I think Emmanuel Mosley was a great find. That's kind of what they're hoping for, though. It's like you draft enough of them late that maybe one of them steps up. And if the Niners are going to continue to do this, they need to sign free agents to this position because it is a position of extreme need. And again, Barrett is coming back, and I'm excited, but I have no expectation. If he comes out and plays Pro Bowl level, that's awesome. But for me, I was looking to this draft to solve that problem.
I think it just shows that the Niners have kind of low expectations in their backfield, their defensive backfield. As long as they have like guys who can, tackle and run and play man-to-man coverage and have long arms, like that's good enough. Sort of keep everything in front of you. They're not really looking for a lot of like production from the defensive backfield is what I'm looking for. Like if you want production from DBs, you're drafting them in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and the Niners don't do that. So they're just like, you know what, play off. Keep everything in front of you. Don't get burned. Be a good athlete. Tackle. I mean, be solid. So I think Womack and Tariq Castro-Fields could be solid at one point, but they're always going to try to sell these guys as like potential playmakers. Like Talanoa, last year's 5th round DB pick. Like really? They're going to say that he's this, game changer in the backfield. Maybe. Probably not though.
Yeah, the Troy Polamalu, the reference they draw, whoever came up with that PR reference was brilliant.
It might have been Troy. I mean, it's like the whole league is looking for playmakers in the defensive backfield, but this guy slipped to round 5. Like, all right, maybe. I mean, Richard Sherman did. That was famous, but
yeah, but Richard Sherman is a little bit. I mean, he's a cerebral player. He has the arms. Yes. He has the physical strength, but he's not fast.
No.
He has fluid hips. So whenever you have fluid hips, if you ran a 4.5, but your hips are fluid, that's a 4.4 as far as reaction time goes. And so Richard Sherman, with his brain in his prime, he's playing like he ran a 4.3, basically. Luis Castellanos, awesome.
All right, so I hate to be like the downer on the new defensive backs, but every year the Niners draft some guy with like the 170th pick, some DB, and they're like, this guy's great though. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? The 221st pick is you're gonna me with my linguistics. So one of the military officers in my family shares the namesake with our next pick, and I'm devastated to see him mispronounce his own name, but it's Tarek, and it means Warhammer, the pounder, the breaker in Arabic. And this is a glorious first name he has, but Monsieur Tarek,
Warhammer.
Learn how to pronounce your name. I'm going to say that. This is
actually pronounce his name however he wants to pronounce his name, but I like that. Warhammer. That's cool.
Literally. I hope the guys in practice, if he's any kind of good and he tackles well, I hope they pick this up and they start calling him that.
I like that.
He's actually the greatest male warrior in my national history, so very important name.
Wow.
So Tarek Castro-Fields, he's out of Penn State. I'm gonna say I'm not a Penn State fan, but this guy predated on the Terps. So I've actually seen him play because he plays against Maryland. And that did not go very well for Maryland. So I feel like he was a bigger, medium-sized fish in a small pond as far as some of the competition. Maryland is just not that good. I'm sorry. They're just not that good. They're not even fun to watch. He's 197 pounds, short-armed as far as I'm concerned for his size, 30 3/4-inch arms. I'm 5'8". I have 32, just a little bit over arms. So I'm not really impressed with the specimen, but I am impressed with his speed, a 4.38 40. That's good to see. But again, there are so many guys.
Real quick, I'm getting 31 7/8 inches arms for Tariq Castro-Fields.
Really? This was on the NFL.com draft profile I got.
Okay, I'm looking at it. I'm getting it on Draft Scout, so I'm not sure.
What do you have?
I got 31 and 7/8, so just a hair underneath 32.
Basically, that's an inch over this, though. That's a huge difference. Yeah.
How do they get that?
That's 2 extra inches in the wingspan.
Okay. All right. It's in dispute.
Well, let's go with that. Then it's decent. Absolutely decent. So he runs a 4.38. I do like that. I watched him. This is a guy who's more of a football player than a defensive back, and that's why he slips to round 6.
Yeah, there is a definite discrepancy there. On NFL.com, they say 30 and 3/4, and on Draft Scout, they say 31 and 7/8. I don't know, man.
I'll tell you this. So when you take your measurements and you stick your arms out, where you've got your shoulders, you can see that. Who knows? It might have been that. Could have been the person measuring, you don't know. But I mean,
wow,
these people should be professionals. But anyway, it's not his fault. Either way, apparently he's long-armed. So that's great. He has a high motor. These are the notes I took from watching his tape. I watched like 10 minutes of highlights from him playing various schools and things like that. And again, he predates on Maryland. That's where he has his biggest games. He's high motor, very physical. And what's interesting is when you watch his highlights, you come away saying, damn, he's like Jimmy Ward level when it comes to tackling. Because one of the things I always loved about young Jimmy Ward was his ability to sure-handed tackle. He puts his hand on you, you're going down. He doesn't always put his hat on you, but he puts his hands on you, and he's a sound tackler. I love that about him. And pretty much Jimmy drops you where you are. You don't carry Jimmy Ward in his prime. That's something that I feel Jimmy returned to last year. That's something I saw from this guy. He's a decent-sized corner. He's almost 200 pounds going up against college receivers. He's going to need that at the NFL level. He really pursues the flats in the backfield. He sniffs out running backs really well. Despite all this, he had 11 missed tackles in his final season. That is of concern, especially at the NFL level. Things don't get easier; they get worse. So
yeah, he was a missed tackle machine. Yes,
he should be a tackle machine. But when I watched him, he reminds me of Marcel Harris. And the ups and the downs of Marcel Harris is what I project this guy to potentially bring. He overruns the routes. He takes the wrong angles. And then he gets into issues where he gets his hands on you, but he's behind you. He's beside you. He's got no chance of making the tackle. So he melts off the receivers when they've got the ball. If they get ahead of steam, it's really easy to blow past this guy.
Yeah.
Not because he is strong. He is strong. Not because of that. Simply because he's not taking the right angles. And hey, if they're going to draft this guy, then they need to clean this up. But that's what you get in round 6. So again, you look at this guy, his body, his brain. This guy is a film study. This guy is like, he has the approach that Richard Sherman has to the game. And I love that about him. He's well known by his coaches as a film study. But this is what you get in round 6. So he's got the brain, he's got the body, but he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the fluidity. And his back pedal is also not that great. So he relies on his brain to see what's in front of him. And if he diagnoses it, plays over. This guy picked off a pass in a screen while standing between 2 offensive linemen. That's tough to do. Just literally, you could see him drop back and then move up in the box, and he was right there, and it hit him right in the hat. So there's the benefit of him, but then you have the lack of fluidity, and some of his technique needs to be refined.
Let's talk about Trey Lance, because he hasn't done anything in a long time, but people keep talking about him, and the noise gets louder and louder as the weeks go on. And every week there's someone else saying that they have some information, they have some data, some advanced statistics, some source that says he's just not good. What do you think about this narrative that's building about Trey?
I don't like to read into these narratives. There's a lot of jargon coming out against him. But then I see things like his arm might not be strong enough. And I'm like, no, this guy is strong. Like, this guy's bigger than me. He's longer armed than me. This guy's tall. He's a specimen. He's a stallion out there. And I'm thinking, no. And you don't hear the same garbage I fear on Jimmy Garoppolo's training camps and things like that. You know, I mean, it's not as objective with Trey Lance. So I think a lot of it, you can just throw it right out the window. I think the thing that I do take seriously is, should the 49ers be concerned about Trey Lance? Absolutely. He doesn't have a lot of football under his belt in the last couple of years, but they drafted him and they are stuck with him and they will have to work with him. I don't think he fits the prototype that Kyle Shanahan historically wants. Kyle Shanahan and Peyton Manning would have been unstoppable. That's what he really wanted. I feel like the system of the 49ers puts its speed in Kittle, in Ayuk, in Debo, in Mitchell, and they just want somebody to put the ball in stride to them. Mm-hmm. Trey Lance is not that guy. So that doesn't mean the world is over. Kyle Shanahan's going to flip the script a little bit. He's going to be like, okay, so it's a guy who does not necessarily have the touch, but he has the legs. And so between the two, he's going to pepper. We know this. We know he's going to pepper this into the playbook. So I'm not that concerned with Trey Lance. As far as the rankings go, he's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football. He deserves that. He's not a starting quarterback yet. He never has been. So until he actually writes his own history, then I don't read into the fact that they lowball him. He should be lowballed. He has nothing on his resume. And as a result, I'm comfortable with where he's at. But my expectation,
how could you put him? How could you put him in the 20 above, in the teens? How could you do that?
Because exactly. I mean, that would just be bias at that point. It would be lacking objectivity. In your heart of hearts, you can of course say, if Trey Lance, the big if he puts this together, then he can at least be a rookie version of Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. To me, I think that's kind of the ceiling with him. But I don't think the floor with him is that bad either. I really think that this guy is capable of pulling out some ugly wins. I really do. I like the Texans game. I just feel like the unknown of his legs and whether he's actually going to pass it or not. As this unit learns him, which is what training camp, OTAs, preseason, what that is all about, I just feel like they will snowball and this will work. I absolutely do. So I do not buy that the Niners are freaked out. Like, oh my gosh, we made a mistake. We need a new quarterback. I don't think that's it at all. When you look at the Jimmy Garoppolo situation, how it feeds into this, that he's still here, he did that to us with his shoulder surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that until Jimmy Garoppolo's gone, until the Niners officially named Trey Lance the starter and Jimmy Garoppolo's out, there's always going to be reporters or fans or people that say, "Oh, I heard that the Niners don't like Trey. I heard they don't trust Trey." I mean, they're fueling the speculation. They are. So if they want it to end, they can end it, and at any time. And what's weird and wild is that they haven't and won't. So
see, the question I think Jimmy needs to ask himself: do you want to be a backup on a contender? Or at this point, what is his market? Like, he's not all the rosters are set. So I just feel like Jimmy, with his shoulder surgery, really screwed himself. Now, he had to get it. And maybe it was inevitable. But at this point, he has no stock. So the best situation.
Yeah, but then the Niners screwed themselves too. They both screwed themselves. He screwed himself because he's out of a market. But the Niners screwed themselves because they didn't use the cap space they could have used by getting rid of him. So they both
bring in a Gilmore or a Von Miller or something like that with that cap space. Can you imagine?
So they both hurt themselves.
Yeah, they absolutely. Yeah, this should have happened a long time ago. And as far as Jimmy goes, do you feel he's going to be on this roster?
Yeah, I have a feeling the Niners are so petty and they're just going to keep this going. Now, maybe Jimmy asks for his release and the Niners grant it to look good, but barring that, I don't see how they get out of this because they've said they won't cut him.
Jimmy's options
not going to be a trade.
So limited, though. Like, I think it's actually within his interest to stay because where is he going to go?
Yeah, where are you going to go? You're not going to get more money anywhere else. You're going to be a backup wherever you land at this point.
Exactly. And the thing is, the Seahawks really, I don't like their quarterback situation, but they're not going to pay for him.
I mean, how embarrassing would it be if he becomes a free agent and no one wants him? Or if he has to accept like $1 million to be like a backup.
Love your music as always.
Yeah. Daniel Garcia 2120 says, I have noticed that we saw tons of practice footage of Lance outside of camp last year. This year, nothing. Any thoughts on that? They haven't practiced yet.
In the narrative, that's really what I think it comes down to. And also, we haven't actually been to the point at which I think we're going to see as much of him yet.
Yeah, hold on. OTA start next week, so we'll see if some. I mean, I'll be there. I'll let you know how he does.
That's what I'm saying. Is that we haven't gotten to the point yet where you would see him as much.
Yeah, it's about to start, and that's I think what's interesting. There's been nothing going on, and people are basically filling like a content gap. Now OTAs are going to start. All that's over with. All the speculation that I heard a guy who knows a guy who said he saw Trey Lance miss a throw one time. Like, that's all over with. OTAs are starting next week. Let's see what he does.
And again, that's why I don't read into this. It's like, what is somebody watching him in the weight room and they notice he dropped a 10-pound dumbbell or something? Like, where did the arm thing come from? I don't get that.
Yeah, like, I still don't understand what it means. All right, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. I think him and his agent thought that by having surgery late in the process that they would control their own destiny, get to become a free agent and pick their team. It didn't work out that way because the Niners were like, you know what? We don't care about cap space. We are petty too. And we want to trade you, and we don't want to give you what you want. So now they're in a game of like chicken. They're like in a big standoff, is the way I interpret the situation. What are his options, Jimmy's, now that the Niners have shown that they're way pettier than he expected?
I think the best thing for his career is to stay, because you look, like I said, all the rosters are set. If he gets traded, it's going to be to a bum team, basically, as a bridge, as a backup or something. He's not going to the Ravens. He's not going to the Cardinals or the Rams or any kind of good playoff team out there. So his options are be put in a position, maybe the Texans, where you won't succeed behind a porous O-line, which does not suit him, with no run game and no receiving core, as if that's going to make Jimmy Garoppolo look better. So he has to look. Let's just say he goes to the Texans. If he's like, yes, I want that opportunity because I want to be a starter. Well, what it really is, it's an opportunity to show the NFL, I can't be a starter. So he should stay put, where the last thing on film is him coming this close in a championship game, losing to a team that won the Super Bowl. So for him, I feel it's, do you want to stay in the Shana plan, basically? Do you want to stay in this system? Maybe Trey Lance gets hurt. Maybe there are some packages. Maybe you get some good preseason tape with some of these offensive weapons we have. And who knows, maybe later in the year, someone goes down somewhere. Someone like in the Browns or something like that, where it's a decent team and they're suddenly in need of a decent quarterback. So that's really, if he stays here, the option of being pushed into a good situation remains. He gets cut. No one good wants him, and certainly not at the salary. And his injury guarantee goes away here. What is it, $7 million or something like that? That goes away here soon. So, he's not in a good position financially right now. He's about to go bust as far as this contract. So the only thing he has is to stay on the 49ers books. But I honestly, if John Lynch and Parag do not go to him and say, look, we need to restructure this, then I will do a backflip.
Yeah, and maybe they will. That's why I bet my dad a bottle of wine, a $50 bottle of wine, that Jimmy's going to be on this team this year. And I think what the Niners are going to do is try to keep him through the entire offseason and say, look, we're going to cut. You're the backup. You lost the competition. But we'd like to keep you as the backup. We'll pay you more to be a backup here than any other team will. What do you say? And Jimmy will have to decide if his pride will allow him to be the backup here. But as you pointed out, maybe it's better to be the backup here than somewhere else, because here, the system, it's a good team, and the locker room loves you. So there's a lot of pressure on Lance to succeed. He doesn't even have to get hurt. If he has one bad game, two bad games, you could have the locker room chanting you could have the whole stadium chanting your name to play. So maybe you want to be here and just sort of bet against Trey Lance and be like, you know what, I could be right back in there winning soon.
That's the other thing. If Trey Lance that's it. So I think in the betting world, there's this 1%, 5% chance that Trey Lance is just a bust. And Jimmy should really start to count on that. Literally, there's more in his potential favor to stay than there is to go. And you look at Baker Mayfield out there in Cleveland, and I think he and Jimmy, being outclassed by basically the athletic abilities of who is above them now, they're kind of in the same situation. And I just think that both of them need to stay put, because you never know when the other guy will go down.
Right.
Or what the situation will be as far as packages and things. I think it's Trey Lance's team. And I honestly think if he doesn't play that well, I still don't see Jimmy getting the job. I see the 49ers taking their foot off the gas and saying building year, because they need him to be good next year. If he's good this year, that's awesome. But even if he struggles, I think the 49ers stay with him so as not to repeat the mistake of last year. And Jimmy has to show that he is as classy as we have always said he is. And if he can show that, then maybe some team like the Texans next year will be like, you know what? I can build around that guy. I could get some good O-linemen in the draft. I could sign a good wide receiver in free agency. I could get a defensive back next year. I could build around this guy. And he has to realize that at this stage of his career, he's not $25 million a year. He's kind of looking down the Carson Wentz line for the future, where, I don't want to say a has-been. He's still a good working model, but he needs to start to accept that I'm not a franchise guy anymore unless I take less money and they build around me. And suddenly he just becomes the game manager.
No, Jimmy's done. I mean, he's never going to be like any team he goes to, he's going to have a young guy breathing down his neck. And he's going to have like, you'll be here for a year or two and then you got to go. So sorry, man. Sorry. Unless you want to, unless he thinks he can have like a Ryan Tannehill mid-30s rebirth, but he's not going to. He's not talented enough. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Yep.
Brian J says, I'm so glad that Mac Dre's in the building. Player swag is going to be off the chain this season. Niners finally getting quality people in the building. Someone said that they heard Kyle, they talked to Kyle Shanahan at the facility, and he said that he asked him how do you feel about people doubting Trey Lance, and that Kyle says exactly how he wants it. And it sounded like the biggest lie ever. So I just said that I talked to Mac Dre. He said the same thing.
Got you. Love it.
Yeah, just want
to appreciate that. I was a little bit lost there. You could see that.
Sorry, I tweeted it like an hour ago. Danny Gray, 3rd round pick, the deep threat. What do you think his role in the offense is going to be immediately?
I think exactly what you just said. I think it's self-explanatory. I think it is the deep threat that he brings, and I like his size, his athleticism, and everything like that, and everything. But you look at like what kind of receivers we have. I feel like Jawan Jennings is your possession guy on 3rd down. I feel like Deebo Samuel is your gadget player. You can be like, look, we're playing the Rams. We need a touchdown or we're going to lose. And then Deebo Samuel says, no problem, I got you. He's kind of that guy, but he's also the trickery that comes with him, the downhill running, the aggressive style of play that Deebo, he kind of checks that box. You got Brandon Ayuk, who's a really good route runner, and he's good in man-to-man. So you kind of have that. So those are 3 amazing options already. And if that doesn't work, then you have George Kittle.
Right.
Juszczyk. But the one thing that the Niners had just been kind of like dipping their toe in the water with, they hoped Marquise Goodwin would just have this renaissance career. The first year, it looked like it could be, and then he got injured, of course, and it was never the same. Then they bring in Travis Benjamin, who had some flash in his career, and I think Shanahan was kind of hoping, okay, bargain player with my game plan, I'll stretch the field for him. All he has to do is catch it.
Yeah.
I'll make Travis Benjamin look good the way he makes Jimmy Garoppolo look good, basically. Yeah. But all of a sudden, I think they're realizing, you know what? We need a guy who's actually good at that comes with the physical body that where we can use him in some gadgetry as well. Because Danny Gray does see himself, I think, he seems humble enough, but I think he sees himself as a potential Deebo as far as the way he likes to play out of the backfield.
Don't we all?
We hope so.
Ray McLeod is opening press conference.
On record, let me just say that I'm a Deebo fan.
I'm just saying Ray McLeod is opening press conference where the Niners compared himself to Deebo. Everyone thinks they're Deebo these days. I think I'm Deebo.
Well, yes, absolutely. He's going to cash in on that, and who does not want to? So that's what I think Danny Gray is going to be. I think he's the last toy Shanahan needs.
Yeah.
And even if he's a deke, like he's just out there as a decoy, he's going to catch a few passes this year. He's going to stretch the field. It works with Trey Lance because he has the arm to do it. Jimmy Garoppolo has eliminated. I think Travis Benjamin and Trey Lance could have been better because I think Jimmy Garoppolo automatically writes Travis Benjamin off. He's like, oh my gosh, a deep guy. I'm not throwing his way. I'm terrified to throw downfield. We all see what happens when I do. So I feel like Shanahan, he does want the deep threat, but he's never had the quarterback to do it with.
Good point. And there was no point in really having a good deep threat in the team with Jimmy Garoppolo. My question with Danny Gray is like, is there more to his game than catching the occasional deep ball? Because that's definitely valuable. But like, if there's one more thing he could do, that'd be nice. Like end arounds, reverses.
He can do those. He absolutely can. We saw that in college.
Great. Then that's terrific. Because again, like he's probably not going to be the guy you throw to on 3rd and 8. You probably don't want to throw to him over the middle. But you have 3-4 other guys you can do that with. Jennings, Ayuk, Kittle, Deebo. Really, you just need him to sort of fill in the gaps and do different things. Be the deep threat. But like, if that's his fastball, give me a curveball too. Give me a changeup.
So here's the curveball he does bring. This is what I foresee will happen. They're going to line up with Kittle and Deebo and Gray. And what will happen is Gray will go out wide as if he's going to just go straight vertical or something like that. Or he's going to come across the middle or whatever. They're going to make him look like, okay, that is Lance's deep option. Deebo is going to go in motion to where someone's got to account for him. And then all of a sudden I see Kittle kicking out and Deebo switching places with Gray, and Gray gets the end around. And it's just going to, the mess visually, this is going to look like to the linebackers and the safety. I think it opens up the first level. And as far as the D linemen, they'll just keep their nose in the dirt and do their job. But I feel like as far as the second level and the secondary, those are the guys that I feel like Shanahan's going to get really creative with Gray and Debo and Kittle all together. And then again, like I said, you have Juszczyk there, and he'll just be floating around out there one-on-one with a linebacker. So that's what Gray, I really think, brings is a different look, a wrinkle to this offense. And I think he unlocks Debo. I think he spells Debo. That's the other important thing. We need Debo to be healthy. And Debo is a scary player to watch. Every single game in the playoffs, he got one to the solar plexus, which is not a big deal, and he goes down like he's going to need a cart. And that's terrifying to watch. And you just realize one of these days, Debo's not going to get up. That's Gray's responsibility.
Hold on. To me, I think Gray's going to be cutting into Brandon Ayuk snaps. And I like Brandon Ayuk. But to me, I think what Kyle was upset with Ayuk, and you can't say it, and there's nothing Ayuk can really do about it, but I just think Shanahan wants Ayuk to be faster. You're the split end. You know, you're supposed to run clear out routes a lot of the time. And Ayuk he's not a 4-3 guy. He's not a 4-4 guy. And I don't even think he wants to run clear out routes that much. I mean, if he's going to get the ball, fine. And he's going to catch big plays and catch some deep passes. But the reason he was in the doghouse last year is because they had Trent Sherfield running clear out routes instead of him. So maybe it's like, all right, man, you don't want to run those routes? Fine. Danny Gray, you're up. So Ayuk, you better watch out. It's coming for you.
I wish we could know for certainty. You can kind of judge what you see like you just did. I wish we knew for certainty what Ayuk's attitude was, but you're right. I can see the speed being an issue as far as pushing him for route time.
Yep.
But I think Shanahan was looking for bargain, third round value, all around the receiver, can probably fill in at every position.
He was like the 17th wide receiver drafted this year. So if you could get a quality backup.
Receiver draft, it really was.
Yep. Brian J says that tweet was hilarious. Grant, thanks. You're a legend. Appreciate it. You're a legend. Murphy says, if Trey isn't good this year, it further cements the fact that it was a mistake to draft him. Any year we aren't contenders with his core is a waste. If he's not good immediately, it was a dumb trade.
2020, obviously, everyone will say it was a bad draft if that happens. But again, for all the reasons we have said that what Trey brings to the offense, this makes sense. And Jimmy Garoppolo, the ceiling is like right here with him. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you guarantee a Super Bowl appearance with Jimmy Garoppolo?
But hold on, I disagree with Murphy. Like, what if?
So do I. That's my points.
Yeah. Like, what if Trey Lance wins a Super Bowl in his second year as a starter? Was it a dumb trade? I mean, to me, I think this team and this quarterback have the talent to do something like that. I'm not picking the Niners to win the Super Bowl this year because Trey didn't play last year, and that wasn't his choice. That was the Niners' choice. But yeah, I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl in year 2 as a starter, I don't think it's a dumb trade.
Cool. Sorry about that, the doorbell thing. I just had a tent delivered to my front door. So anyway. Okay.
Last topic. Does Trey Sermon have a role in this offense?
Only if his camp and his preseason go well, because now I feel like, well, first off, look at, there's JaMychal Hasty, and there are so many backs here to justify keeping him. He's going to need to, I think, push one of them off the roster. And that's the issue. This was Tyrion Davis-Price. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
That was an interesting draft. I'm not angry at it, but I wasn't really blown away by that. But I did watch him. He's a good back. He's more of a bruiser, I guess you could say. And Sermon should have brought that as well. But for whatever reason, Sermon, between his injury in Philadelphia or whatever, just never got his opportunity, it feels like. To me, I feel like maybe they see it in practice.
They gave him a ton of opportunities in training camp and preseason in retrospect. And I guess they just felt like he didn't do it. To me, they don't like the way he runs the ball, which is crazy. Like, you didn't notice that in college, but I feel like they think he dances too much.
Where is the gauge? Where's the measure of this man? How did they make this determination?
I guess they didn't like what they saw in training camp and preseason, which is crazy. But I think what they didn't like was I think they feel he's not particularly explosive. He doesn't hit the hold particularly violently. He hesitates, he bounces, and I think they want a guy like Ty Davis-Price who just freaking charges up between the tackles. That's
one of the things that I will say that Shanahan needs from his back is one cut and go. And the reason for that is it's just like martial arts. It's just like squad maneuvers in the military. The guy in front of you doesn't see you hesitating. So he is doing his job to a T as an O-lineman. And if you are not perfectly in sequence with him and make that one cut and go, it might not look like there's a hole there now, but there will be by the time you get there. Yeah. And that's where I will say Sermon does not see the vision. He sees what's in front of him. So he's running like a one-man show. And I can see why that might irk Kyle Shanahan, because he's like, dude, did you not see Kittle downfield? Did you not see Juszczyk was out there, out of your field of vision, coming across to blindside the linebacker? All you saw was the guy in front of you. And maybe that's where his hesitation comes from. I was listening to another podcast, and they were talking about the importance of basically staying in sync with each other as a 49ers offensive unit. And maybe they feel like Sermon isn't comfortable in that unit yet, but perhaps that's why they get him. And that's why Raheem Mostert was so good, because he did hit the hole. Once he got the ball, he drifted and took off on his first cut. And sometimes it was 2 yards, 3 yards, but sometimes it was 50 plus. And I feel like Mostert's ability to just hit the hole with speed and go is one of the things they are hoping for, perhaps from this third round pick. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Well, he's different than Mostert. He's 225 pounds.
Oh, no, I don't mean to compare them. I mean,
here's how I look at it. Yeah. With Sermon, I don't know why he's on this team. I don't know who advocated for him, but the running back coach from last year is gone. Bobby Turner. He's not here this year. And a lot of offensive coaches are gone. Mike McDaniel's gone. So whoever his advocate was probably isn't here. The new running back coach, first thing he does is draft another running back in round 3. If you were Trey Sermon and I was your agent, and we saw they got a new running back coach, and the first thing he did was take another running back in the same spot you were taking, we would both be like, ooh, that's a bad sign. Seems to me that Anthony Lynn has his own vision for what he wants in running backs, and Ty Davis Price fits it. I'm not sure Trey Sermon does.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't consider that. That's definitely, it's his brainchild. Basically, like, look, you don't get the first or the second round, but we'll give you the third, the third and fourth, perhaps somewhere in there. And if you can pick a decent running back in there, you can make him. And you know what? If you have the attention of the teacher, you have success.
Yeah, that's Lynn's pick. And so what he's saying is, this is my kind of running back. I don't think he's saying Trey Sermon. If Trey Sermon was his kind of running back, they wouldn't have drafted Ty Davis Price. And the thing about Ty Davis Price, so look into Anthony Lynn's background. Bobby Turner had his own types of running backs. He was into smaller guys who could make that one cut and go, like Elijah Mitchell. Anthony Lynn likes bigger guys. He's not as concerned about agility. His starting running back in Detroit last year was Jamal Williams, who's a lot like Ty Davis Price, about 224 pounds, not particularly agile, but runs really freaking hard between the tackles and gets yards after contact. That's what he's looking for, and that's what they're hoping Ty Davis Price will be. So I don't know about Troy. I don't know about Trey.
One really good team we play that is soft on defense and doesn't match up well against us physically. What is it?
Well, it used to be the Rams, but now they have Bobby Wagner.
They do, and that's going to hurt. But
that's what they got Bobby Wagner.
Some of the thinking was that it's a game, not a quarter, and we need because when the Niners roll the Rams, they wear them down, and the Rams defense literally just gives up.
Yes,
and you see Aaron Donald on the sideline just breathing his lungs out, basically. So perhaps that's a really good point. The running backs coach, they advocate for who they want, just like Kyle Shanahan obviously has dibs along with John Lynch on who they draft first.
Also, Kyle, in the 3 biggest moments of his career, has choked. Super Bowl with Atlanta, Super Bowl with the Niners, and last year in the NFC Championship game. And all 3 times he had a lead and couldn't close it out. A lot of people feel that the way you close out a lead in the NFL since the beginning of time is with a running back who's a little bit bigger. I mean,
Marshawn
Lynch had finesse, but he also had Roger Craig, who was 220 pounds. I mean, Kyle's been trying to close out these Super Bowls with scat backs. So maybe he feels like this is the. I mean, if you're gonna have a committee of running backs, why not have different types as opposed to 3 scat backs? I've always said that with Kyle.
I still feel it would have worked in the Super Bowl had they continued to, use Mostert. I think that was 100% the coaching and not the players.
Correct.
But I get what you're saying. If you get back to why the Legion of Boom broke up, basically, and why they don't like Pete Carroll, it's that Marshawn Lynch call, not giving him the ball. When you're on the 1 to 3 yard line. And it's the fourth quarter. Everybody is gassed except Marshawn Lynch. I can see why if you look back, I mean, even Anthony Dixon in the days of Frank Gore took goal line snaps from the 1 yard line, because how are you going to stop this behemoth of a man for 1 yard, basically? And so there is benefits. the Niners do come up a little short every single time, it feels like, and perhaps that's the thinking. But you know what? It's a team. It's a unit. One guy's not going to solve this. But let's see what they do with him.
But I think what's interesting last year is when they were in positions like they gave the ball to Debo a lot as a running back, and it was sometimes outside the tackles, but it was also like goal line, 4th and 1. You know, like gotta have it. He was the biggest. He was 220 pounds. So now it's Ty Davis-Price. He should be the goal line back. Debo shouldn't have to do that.
So they lost their goal line back, Jimmy Garoppolo, on his sneaks and stuff like that. What is that guy, like 50 for 50 in his life?
Sybilla. He's not gone yet. He's
That's
still
true.
on the team.
Now we know now we know why he's still
lurking.
Here. Sneaks. $25 million for sneak. But I'll tell you this: if it comes down to the Super Bowl and we're on the goal line and Trey Lance is out there, they better pull him off the field. And just $25 million for a Super Bowl. That's the going rate. Have
you ever seen Pineapple Express?
Yes.
It's the best thing James Franco ever did. That one scene where he's like saying he's a lingerer. He lingers.
Yes.
Dude, Jimmy is a lingerer, man. You linger. Although he's trying to leave. He said goodbye.
Yes.
The Niners are just holding him.
Forcibly lingered and snared.
Let my Jimmy go. Let my Jimmy go.
Free Jimmy. That's the new hashtag. We had free Baker, right? Free OBJ. Now we have free Jimmy.
I like that. Free Jimmy.
See, whether you're a Jimmy lover or a Jimmy hater, use it. So it's the only hashtag we would ever find peace and love on earth for.
I like that. Hashtag free Jimmy. We gotta make that a movement. Let's put some pressure on the Niners to free Jimmy. Sybilla, it's been a pleasure. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Real quick, I just want to see if you caught this. Did you catch Rich Eisen interviewing Mariucci?
No. What'd he say?
Did you hear do you remember when Bill Walsh, the play in the dirt where he draws it up and he's leaning down there and Joe's sitting there with his finger in the ground, and right, famous, right? Mariucci saw the same photographer in the second quarter of a Falcons game, right? And they had a huge lead and he calls a timeout. Okay. He gets Steve to come over here. Did you hear this story? Okay, so he gets Steve Young to come over here, and Steve literally goes like, "What are you doing?" And he like looks up the clock and Steve Young didn't know this, and I got to listen to his live reaction on this. It was hilarious. And Mariucci wanted the same moments because he's a quirky kind of guy. He's a nice guy. He's like everyone's dad, right? And
he's big into his image.
Moments. And so Steve Young came over there, put his hands on his hips, looks down at him, and like Mariucci was like, "My knees are old. You know, I was in pain." And he's like, "Come on, get down here, get down here." And Steve Young looks at him, doesn't say a word, turns around, walks away, goes to get some water. And Mariucci says, "So I'm stuck there, right? I'm stuck there like this moment in time, feeling like an idiot. But I hang on to it." And he's like, and I'm like, "Steve, and Steve never comes back."
No.
And then they asked, and Steve's like, "I remember that." And he's like, "Actually, I thought you were going to throw up. So I just kind of gave you some space." And he's like, "Because why would you call a timeout at the second quarter? I'm over there with some of the other guys saying, what is going on here?" You know, it was a great moment.
He would do that.
And I remember that vaguely and everything. I just remember this. My father made this comment. "Why is he calling timeout?" And that was just like, I brought it up with my father. And he goes, "I remember that."
Have you watched the show Winning Time on HBO?
No, I have not.
Winning Time. Anyone who's watched that, the way you just described Steve Mariucci reminds me a lot of the portrayal of Paul Westhead by Jason Segel in the show. Wow.
I'll have to look that up.
Anyway, it's a good show. Everyone was mad that it's like not accurate. I don't know. I wasn't alive in the early 80s. It's really John C. Reilly's. I love John C. Reilly. It's like basically Boogie Nights 2, 25 years later. It's like Boogie Nights 2 with starring John C. Reilly. Sally Fields is in it. Adrian Brody's in it. Jason Segel.
Sally Fields is great. Yeah,
it's on HBO, and it's really good. I mean, I'm into it. Anyway, that's the show. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in an hour with Rob if he texts me. We'll see if Rob wants to work today. We'll see what Rob's got. Sybilla already got her work in. Now
exactly.
it's time
I'll have to do my front squats.
Yeah.
Presses in because I hear there's work being done.
Yeah, I put up 185, 2 sets of 10 yesterday. Yeah.
Thanks. We're chasing the combine numbers. We're gonna have. You know what we do? Let's have a. I don't know what we call the Cohn family. Let's have the Cohn family combine, right?
Okay, and so I've been working out. You always work out. Jack's been working out, but Jason got to start. Vish, I met Vish. Vish is skinny.
Jack has to play on offense because I'm on defense.
Yeah.
So we have to have a scrimmage game one day.
Yeah.
There you go, Niners fans. Let's get a scrimmage game together.
I'm a two-way player. I play center and free safety.
Cohn Bowl.
I have that kind of body type.
We play for the Cohn Bowl in a bottle of Napa.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
All right. See you guys later. Have a great day.
See you guys.